Hey, greetings and salutations. How you doing today? Me? I'm fantastic. Glad you asked. You know, one of the problems of doing these big projects is they take an enormous amount of time, especially when you're the only guy that's involved in doing them. And the amount of time and money it takes to complete a project like converting a school bus into an RV or doing a semi-frame off restoration on a 30-year-old truck, or get involved with a 50-year-old car or a 75-year-old tractor. All these things take money and time, and sometimes the schedule of the work that's being conducted doesn't jive with a production schedule, if you will, for creating content for YouTube. I do other things too, like go out and explore abandoned places, and I'm a history buff, and I'm thinking about making some videos this summer about local history. Maybe you'd be interested in something like that. This channel is not a monotopic channel. It's really more like a vlog than anything else. So I was kind of spitballing some ideas of how I can create more content, and as you know, I've created an affiliate account, and so now I'm a salesman, apparently. And how can I bring you more content and add more value to you as a consumer, and try to grow this channel and this brand into something that's self-sustaining? Because let's face it, videos are free to watch, but they're not exactly free to make. They take a lot of time and energy, and the equipment's not cheap either. More on that later. So I'm thinking of starting a weekly series highlighting tools, because I like tools, and if I could, I would buy them all. Every single one. It doesn't matter. I would buy them all, but I can't. But I have a lot of tools, and I like a lot of tools, and I see tools and I go, "Ooh, that'd be cool to have." Maybe you're like that. I want to start a weekly series and release a video every Tuesday called Toolsday. See what I did there? Tools on Tuesday. Toolsday. I'm a pretty sharp guy. So anyway, I want to make a video every Tuesday highlighting tools. So I figured on this inaugural episode of Toolsday, what better topic to talk about than the tools that you carry on you every day. Everyday carry. So I think a good place to start would be to go do a pocket dump. So let's go. Watch, lighter, flashlight, space pen, and a pocket organizer, car keys, minimalist wallet, a money clip with no money in it, primary knife, utility knife, personal defensive weapon. Let me start by saying that EDC gear, the stuff that you carry on you every day, is kind of individualistic, right? It's like what works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. But this is what I carry on a daily basis, and this is over several years trying things, paring things down, and I want to share with you these items individually, just to help you become more informed. Yeah, does that make sense? So let's start with the obvious elephant in the room, the personal defensive weapon. This particular example is a Smith & Wesson M&P Shield 45. I wasn't very impressed in the beginning when I first got this, but the more I shoot it, the more I like it. I made a couple of improvements. I made a video on the traction grips that are seen underneath these Hogue grips. I was hopeful in the performance of the traction grips, but I didn't do something right, or the design of the grips are such that they didn't want to stay on the gun. So I ended up getting this slip-on rubber grip, and I really like this. It's got a little groove here for your finger, and it's tacky. And it allows, not tacky in the sense that it's so tacky. No, it's got a tacky texture. It allows you to get a good purchase on the gun, and because it's soft rubber, it absorbs a little bit of the recoil impulse. Not that a 45 has that much recoil impulse. It's a pain in the ass to get on, but once it's on there, you're gonna have to cut it to get it off. And I really like this grip. It's housed in a holster that I make. I make these for several different models of personal defensive weapons. M&P Shield 45 is just one of them. If you're interested, shoot me a message. And I'm selling these for like 40 bucks shipped anywhere in the lower 48. And it's a hybrid holster. Most of the ones I have are black on black. I don't offer too much in terms of the color of Kydex, because this is inside the waistband holster. No one's going to see it anyway. It just needs to function. But this particular holster isn't for the 45, it's for the 9, but they're so close dimensionally that it actually works for the 45. Do have an extra magazine that goes in my cargo pocket. Next up, look at this unorganized mess. That's my keys in the Carrera video, the Carrera Nevada video that I did just recently. I'm walking through the ghost town there, and you can hear this thing jingling on my hip. But I have a bottle opener and can tab opener on here. You know, this is the car keys for Malibu, Jeep keys, you know, toolbox keys. I also carry an old school mag light here. This is an incandescent version, and it's about probably 50 lumens. It's not good for much, but it's better than nothing. And I also carry a Leatherman Micra. In lieu of carrying like a big bulky multi-tool, I carry this. I actually have a Leatherman, the original Leatherman from like 23 years ago when I got that, and I've tried to incorporate that in my everyday carry, and I already have enough hanging off my hip. Putting a multi-tool, I just don't use one enough to justify carrying a full-size multi-tool. Plus, for me, I'm usually around the house. I've got a garage full of tools, and in my Jeep I have a small box that I keep tools in. I have tools available to me just about everywhere, so there's no need for me to carry a multi-tool. One thing multi-tools are really good for is for when you're out and about and don't have access to tools. That's one of the reasons why I carry this Micra. You know, it's got a scissor on it. It's got a small blade on it. It's got a regular screwdriver blade. It's got a small fingernail file, and you can dig the gunk out from underneath your fingernails there. It has a small screwdriver / punch with a bottle opener. It has a tweezer on it, a Phillips screwdriver. I use this quite often, believe it or not, and it's always on me, and it's so unintrusive that, I mean, look at the keychain, and then everything is separatable, if that's even a word. Like, there's my Jeep stuff, there's my toolbox lock stuff. We've got the flashlight, the house key with the car key, and then some more lock stuff with the Leatherman on it. And I use this, just a really inexpensive little aluminum carabiner, to separate all that stuff, and I can hang this off my pocket when I go into the store or something. In my left-hand pocket, I keep this little pocket organizer I just made, because I don't like things floating around in the bottom of my pocket. I made one that didn't have this little bit on it, and yeah, I needed to have a place to put my little pen. I have a space pen, a bullet space pen here, in brass. And in my one thing I didn't show, in my back pocket, I keep little Micro Works Revmark. This is from Revmark USA. Little Write in the Rain notebook here, and I need to get some more of these. This one's just about full. But either field notes, something that's waterproof, and you can write in the rain. This will write in the rain. This will write upside down, and a notepad. Good thing to have. And then I put that in my pocket organizer. I also have this really cheap Flashlight runs on AA, has 5 features: strobe, SOS, high, medium, and low. The reason I don't carry a really expensive, name brand flashlight is because I'm really hard on things, and if I lose this or if I break this, I'm not out of pocket. And I use this all the time. I use this almost every day, because the older I get, the less effective these things become. So having a light available to look at part numbers on engine parts or whatever, or just to find your way through a door frame. Cheap light, better than no light. And I have multitudes of cheap lights around the house. I use them all the time. I do have a name brand light. I don't carry it because it's too pretty and I don't want to lose it. It's this one. It's an O light. I certainly wouldn't go into an abandoned mine with just this. I'd probably go into an abandoned mine with this, and the one that's over there, and the one that's in the 3 that are in my bug out bed, and this one. I'll do a review on this one a little bit later. I got this one for Christmas. But look at it, isn't that pretty? All copper, nice. I also carry a Bic lighter. I don't smoke anymore. I used to could, but I don't do it anymore. But it never hurts to have a lighter. You can use this for doing electrical work, melting shrink tubing, and the end of paracord stuff. And I've got this set up to where I don't even need to take it out of the holder, right? But this tidies up your pocket. These are available commercially, but some of this leather stuff, these leather goods, these handmade leather goods, can run into the hundreds of dollars. And there's a particular brand that I was looking at where it was a pocket organizer like this without the about like this. It was $100. And I bought some leatherworking tools and I made this. This was my second attempt. My wallet. I stopped carrying a conventional wallet in my back pocket because my wallet turned into a repository for business cards, receipts, and just anything that I didn't want in my pocket. I would put it in my wallet, and pretty soon I've got a wallet that's this thick, doesn't have any cash in it, but it's stuffed full, and it's giving me scoliosis, back problems, So I just stopped carrying a wallet, a conventional wallet. And I made this primarily, I made one for my wife so she could have a business card holder. And I thought, most of what I carry is about the size of a credit card. And this is just a clamshell type deal here. And it holds, cards, and a AAA card, credit card, debit card, insurance cards, AutoZone card, all the necessities. And you just pull the 2 halves apart like that a little bit, shove that stuff in there, put this in your front pocket, and you don't even know it's there. And then when I do carry cash, I put it in a money clip. This one I found when I was going for a walk, and it's got a couple of rare earth magnets in it. Holds the cash in there, and it does what it does. It's just a cheap money clip. And then for the knife, this is my secondary defensive weapon, this being my primary defensive weapon. This is a Kershaw grid. I don't like everything Kershaw makes, but I like Kershaw knives. And the thing I like about Kershaw knives is they're inexpensive. This one was like $24, something like that. And it's, I don't know how long the blade is, but it looks like about 3.5 inch blade, spring assisted, carries in the tip up position. I've got quite a few Kershaw knives, this being the one that I've carried the longest, and it's starting to get a little bit sloppy. And I started carrying pocket knives with pocket clips like this about, I don't know, probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I've carried pocket knives most of my life, but in my early adult life, I stopped carrying a pocket knife because I didn't need to. I carried tools for a living. I was a carpenter. I had tools on me all day, every day. So having a bunch of stuff in your pockets didn't make much sense to me, especially if you weren't going to use them throughout the day. Of course, when I was young, we didn't have knives with pocket clips on them. You just threw them in your pocket, and they laid down in the bottom of your pocket like that, and That's no good. So about 8 or 9 years ago, I started carrying really inexpensive, not that this is expensive, but really inexpensive, under $5, cheap ass Chinese made pocket knives like this. Through that experience, I've developed an affinity towards knives that are tip up carry. They don't have to be spring assisted, but it's a nice feature. And I prefer frame lock as opposed to like liner lock or spring back. And that brings me to the second knife you saw me pull out, and this is an old school knife. This one I purchased nearly 20 years ago, and this is the originator. Everybody and their brother makes a folding utility knife now. 20 years ago, they weren't a thing. And then this company came out called Super Knife, and they manufactured this gem, and this is an aluminum scale. It's really thin aluminum scales. It doesn't carry tip up, it carries tip down, but it deploys easy. It's well made. I've had this one for a very long time, and I bought this one for work, but I didn't end up using it for work. If I did, I wouldn't be showing it to you today because it didn't fit any of the pouches in my bags, and I would just have to throw it in the bottom of one of the bigger pouches. I didn't want to do that, run this, run nails all over it and stuff. And it would fit in a pouch if I had it open like this, but the problem with that is that the knife ends up cutting the threads out of the bottom of that pocket, and you end up losing it anyway. So this pretty much spent the first 2/3 of its life doing toolbox duty. I pulled it out one day and I said, why am I not carrying this? Because the one thing that this gets used, this is a great food prep knife. It's a great defense. It's great for poking things. If somebody's coming at you and you poke them in the chest, this will stop them. I guarantee it. And this makes a great steak knife. I use this as a steak knife all the time. Cutting cheese, cutting fruit, cutting open an apple for my daughter or whatever. This works great for that. It also works great for cutting open mail and cutting open cardboard boxes. But if there's one thing that's Kershaw is not really known for their blade steel. And realistically, what kind of blade steel do you expect to get for a $25 knife? Now this knife will sharpen up real good and it'll hold an edge for a little while, but cutting paper, cutting mail, cutting cardboard, that will dull this knife quicker than anything else. So instead of using this for opening cardboard boxes, which is what I use a knife for mostly, I started carrying this. And I tell you what, this is kind of the go-to. It's a utility knife. It's for utility use, for cutting open mail, cutting our cardboard boxes, and stripping wire, and that kind of stuff. I don't cut steak with this. I cut steak with this. I don't go for this when I want to defend myself because this goes in my left-hand pocket. This is in my right-hand pocket. This is the one I'll go to if I need to defend myself. So they both have a purpose. And in an upcoming Toolsday, I will do a video specifically on my collection, because I have a plethora of these, on my collection of folding utility knives, and share with you some of the thoughts that I have. Are you familiar with Nut and Fancy? Nut and Fancy is a kind of a gun and gear reviewer. He does watch reviews and knife reviews and gun reviews here on YouTube. And right before Christmas, he did a video on folding utility knives, and he talked about some of the things that he liked. And I had issue with something he said in that video. I want to talk about some of those things in an upcoming Toolsday video on utility knives. So stay tuned for that. And then finally, the last thing I have is a morale coin. This one I happened to find at the gun range a few years back. This morale coin talks about putting on the full armor of God. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. We really wrestle against the spiritual enemies. On the other side of this coin it says perseverance, love, faith, salvation, spirit. I don't know if that means anything to you. It means something to me. I think this is just cool. I like fidgeting with it. Let's talk about the timepiece. This is a really cheap watch, but it keeps good time. This is an import from, I believe, China. It's an Ocean. Has this crown cap here. It protects the crown. It has both digital and analog. I am a sucker for analog watches. I love analog watches, but it's nice to have the digital feature too, to be able to, you know, hit the illumination. You can tell what time it is when it's dark. The hands do illuminate. Let's just charge this real quick. Hands got good lume, and they stay illuminated for a few hours, but you know, you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and you can't see the hands anymore. It's also an alarm clock. It has a stopwatch feature, and I think this was around $20. Link in the description. It originally came with like a NATO band, and I don't particularly like those things, and I just went down to Walmart and got a cheap rubber band for it, and I like this one a lot. In fact, I'm kind of a sucker for cheap watches, cheap knives, cheap anything. I like cheap stuff. I cannot lie. I like expensive stuff too, but you know, like I said, I'm hard on things and I don't like to break stuff. If I'm gonna break it, I might as well break cheap stuff, right? So that's why I carry cheap stuff. So finally, the last thing that is part of my everyday carry gear is the Apple iPhone XR. We have a cat that likes to knock things off countertops. So that's why that's all busted. Wasn't even a week old. Obviously, I shot this video with this phone, except for this section of video, which I'm shooting on my old iPhone, my iPhone 6 Plus. That's what works for me. Yeah, mine, like I said, it might not work for you. But comment in the comment section, what's your ADC gear look like? And then in the future, I'll do some more of these Toolsdays videos. Look for them on Tuesday. Next week, I'll talk about utility knives. If any of these items interest you, go down and there'll be links in the description where you can find these items. And if you decide to want to purchase them, I would appreciate it if you went through those links. Most of those links are going to be Amazon affiliate links, and it doesn't cost you anything extra, but I get a little bit of a kickback, a little bit of a commission, if you will, if you purchase those items through that link, and it helps the channel out. So I appreciate that in advance. So it brings us to the end of this video. Let's close this thing out. Hey, if you haven't done so yet, underneath this video is a red button that says subscribe. Click that button, it will change colors. And then right next to it is a picture of a bell. Click that bell icon and you'll be notified of future uploads. You want to do that so you're notified at least on Toolsday. Yeah? If I succeeded at adding value to you, hammer away at that like button. I appreciate that. If you thought it sucked, well, I'm sorry I wasted your time. Go ahead and click the down button then. Either way is okay with me. And until next time, you have fun, stay safe, shoot straight, keep your powder dry, and have a splendid day. Bye.